Natasha, while Yair Lapid will be meeting with his British counterpart Liz Truss this morning, and the two will issue a Natasha, while Yair Lapid will be meeting with his British counterpart Liz Truss this morning, and the two will issue a memorandum. In fact, they've already published an article, a joint editorial in a British newspaper this morning, showing that they intend to strengthen ties and sign a historic decade-long accord to strengthen cooperation around defense, trade, security, and cybersecurity. Now, beyond that, of course, they've also both foreign ministers have committed to making sure that Iran does not acquire a nuclear weapon, and that is really the focus, of course, for Yair Lapid on this visit, as you say, in terms of trying to keep those sanctions in place and to drum up more support for the Israeli position, as you outlined it earlier today. Now, also today, the foreign minister, Yair Lapid, will also meet with Boris Johnson this afternoon. The two leaders will have a meeting and a press conference, and they're expected to light the menorah for Hanukkah later today.
Now, as we both mentioned, Lapid is clearly on a mission to ensure that banking sanctions against Iran remain in place. But what can we expect from Boris Johnson on that matter?
Well, so far the UK does contain has held onto nearly £500 million in frozen assets related to Iran, and there's been no sign so far that the UK would be willing to release those sanctions unless there's more that Iran brings to the table. But of course, it's this kind of standoff, right? As you had described it, Iran is coming to the table with demands around these sanctions before it will even commit to re-entering the pact that has fallen apart in the last few years. Now, that being said, the issue of sanctions, banking sanctions here in the UK, has become a thorny issue because of British nationals that are detained in Iran. So there's certainly a delicate balance here to be found by the British government, and they'll be seeking to tread that balance while also holding Iran to account. For example, there's a British national, Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe, who has been detained in Iran, and the Foreign Ministry here in Britain confirmed that she was not able to be, the debt that was about £400 million that should be paid back to Iran was not able to be done so because of these banking sanctions. So there's certainly a delicate balance going on that the British government is trying to tread here.
Now, what are British officials hoping to get out of this visit? Obviously, there are British interests in these meetings.
There certainly are, and the Foreign Minister, Liz Truss here, the Foreign Secretary, has already outlined that she really, and the British government, considers Israel to be a very strong partner and a strong ally for Britain in kind of a new front of cybersecurity, defending countries that align themselves, she says, with democratic ideals. So they're seeking to cement that relationship, to sign that memorandum, to cooperate with Israel, as we said, on those issues, and really to bring kind of a united front to these nuclear negotiations that are restarting in Vienna with Western powers, and indeed bringing the Israeli position on board.
Now, Lapid's trip is really just the latest sign of increasingly close ties between the United Kingdom and Israel. What can this be attributed to?
Yes, this Conservative government here in the UK has proven itself a close ally and a friend of Israel, and they are showing those closer ties more and more. There's been a lot of cooperation, even in a flurry of diplomacy. Just in the last couple of weeks, for example, the Israeli President Isaac Herzog was here just last week, meeting with Boris Johnson, cementing those ties, talking about this closer cooperation. Indeed, we've got the British government, which has chosen to recognize all of Hamas as a terror organization. And that was appreciated by the Israeli president and other Israeli officials. So there is a tightening of ties, a closening relationship that is going on. And the British position has been that they appreciate the Israeli concern over the Iran nuclear program, and they share that urgency to bring Iran to the table and indeed to get these talks resumed in a way that Iran cannot acquire a nuclear weapon.